The rain fell hard on that cold October night. Sarah Jenkins drove slowly down the empty highway. Her old blue car was the only one on the road at this late hour. The clock on her dashboard showed it was just past midnight. Sarah's eyes were red and puffy. She had been crying for hours. Today marked 1 year since her son Michael died. He was only 18 when a car crash took his life on this same road. Sarah had spent the evening at the cemetery, sitting by his grave, talking to him as if he could hear her. She told him about her days, how much she missed him, and how the house felt empty without his laughter. Sarah wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. She needed to focus on the road. The rain made it hard to see, and the fog was getting thicker. Her headlights cut through the darkness, but not by much. She didn't notice that she had begun to drive faster. Her mind was lost in memories of Michael. Suddenly, red and blue lights flashed in her mirror. Sarah jumped in her seat, then let out a deep breath. She had been speeding. With a tired sigh, she pulled her car to the side of the road and waited. Officer James Miller had been on duty for 10 hours already. He was tired and ready to go home. This would be his last traffic stop of the night. He watched as the blue car pulled over neatly. At least the driver wasn't drunk, he thought. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped out into the rain. The rain soaked through his uniform as he walked to the car. He tapped on the window with his flashlight. The woman inside looked upset. Officer Miller had seen this before. People often cried when they got pulled over. They thought tears might get them out of a ticket. "License and registration, please," he said when she rolled down her window. His voice was flat and tired. Sarah nodded and reached for her purse. Her hand shook as she pulled out her license. Then she opened the glove box for her registration. She handed both to the officer without looking up. "Do you know why I pulled you over tonight, ma'am?" Officer Miller asked. He shined his light briefly into her car, checking for anything strange. "I'm sorry, officer. I must have been speeding," Sarah said quietly. "I didn't mean to." Officer Miller looked at her license. "Sarah Jenkins, you were going 70 in a 55 zone. That's 15 miles over the limit. Where are you coming from at this hour?" Sarah finally looked up at him. In the harsh light of his flashlight, he could see her red eyes and tear-stained face clearly now. "I was at Mountain View Cemetery," she said. "Today is the 1-year anniversary of my son's death. He's buried there." Officer Miller's face showed no emotion. In his years as a police officer, he had heard every excuse. People would say anything to avoid a ticket. The cemetery was at least 10 miles back, and he knew it closed at sunset. "Ma'am, that cemetery has been closed for hours," he said. "I've been patrolling this road all night. No cars have gone in or out of there." Sarah's eyes widened. "But I was there. I have permission from my cousin who works there. He lets me visit after hours." Officer Miller stepped back slightly and put his hand on his belt. "I'm going to need you to step out of the car, Miss Jenkins." "Why?" Sarah asked, fear now mixing with her grief. "I'm telling you the truth." "Step out of the car now," Officer Miller repeated more firmly. He was sure she was lying. Maybe she was driving under the influence. Maybe there was something else going on. Either way, he didn't believe her story. What happened next would change both their lives forever. Sarah felt her heart beat faster. Why did the officer not believe her? Her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. She was telling the truth. She had been at the cemetery for hours, sitting by Michael's grave in the rain. "Please, officer," Sarah said, her voice shaking. "I can prove it. I have photos on my phone from tonight. I can show you." Officer Miller shook his head. "Step out of the car now, Ms. Jenkins." His voice was hard and cold. He was sure she was lying. Sarah reached for her door handle slowly. She felt angry and sad at the same time. How dare this man call her a liar on the worst day of the year for her? Just then, something strange happened. The car's radio turned on by itself. Both Sarah and Officer Miller froze. No one had touched the buttons. The radio made a crackling sound, then went silent. What was that? Officer Miller asked, shining his light around the inside of the car again. Sarah opened her mouth to answer, but before she could speak, a voice came from the empty passenger seat. It was faint but clear. "Mom, show him the letter." The voice was young and male. It sounded just like Michael. Officer Miller jumped back from the car. His hand moved to his gun. "Who else is in there? I need everyone in this vehicle to show themselves now." Sarah sat very still. Her face had gone white. "You heard that too," she whispered. Officer Miller moved his flashlight beam across the passenger seat, the back seat, everywhere in the car. There was no one else there, just Sarah. "Who spoke?" he demanded again. "Where are they hiding?" Sarah's hands trembled as she reached for her purse. That sounded like my son," she said in a small voice. That was Michael's voice. Officer Miller did not believe in ghosts. He did not believe in voices from nowhere. There had to be a trick, a hidden person, or a recording. What letter was the voice talking about? He asked, still keeping his distance from the car. Sarah pulled out a small envelope from her purse. It was worn and wrinkled, like it had been opened and read many times. "Michael wrote this to me before he died," she explained. "He left it in his room. I found it after the accident. I keep it with me always." She held out the envelope to Officer Miller. He took it carefully, still looking around for whoever had spoken. The letter was written in a young man's handwriting. It was dated 1 week before Michael's death. "Dear Mom," it began. "If you're reading this, something must have happened to me. I had a dream last night that scared me. I dreamed about a crash on Highway 16, near the bend by Miller's Creek. In my dream, I didn't make it." Officer Miller felt a chill run down his spine. Highway 16 was this very road, and Miller's Creek was just half a mile ahead. It was where Michael's accident had happened 1 year ago. The letter continued. "I don't know why I'm writing this. Maybe the dream means nothing. But if something does happen to me, please know that I will always be with you, even when you can't see me." Officer Miller lowered the letter. His hands were now shaking too. "Ms. Jenkins," he said, his voice much softer now, "I think we need to check something." He walked back to his police car and opened the door. Every police car had a dashcam that recorded all traffic stops. The camera would have been running since he pulled Sarah over. Officer Miller rewound the footage and turned up the volume. On the small screen, he could see himself talking to Sarah through her car window. He could hear their voices clearly. Then he heard it. The same young male voice. "Mom, show him the letter." But on the video, there was no one in the passenger seat. The seat was empty. Officer Miller felt the hair on the back of his neck stand up. He walked slowly back to Sarah's car. Officer Miller stood in the rain, staring at Sarah's car. The world seemed different now. He had been a police officer for 12 years. He had seen many strange things, but nothing like this. He walked back to Sarah and handed her the letter. His hand was still shaking. "Ms. Jenkins," he said slowly. "I heard it too. On my camera." He pointed to his police car. There was a voice, but no one was there. Sarah nodded. Her eyes filled with fresh tears, but they were different from her earlier ones. There was something like peace in them now. "It was Michael," she said simply. "He speaks to me sometimes. Not with words usually, just feelings, like he's nearby, watching over me." She paused. "But this is the first time I've heard his voice so clearly." Officer Miller did not know what to say. He was a man who believed in facts, in things he could see and touch, but he could not deny what had just happened. "The letter," he said after a long silence. "Your son wrote about Highway 16 and Miller's Creek. That's where his accident was, right?" Sarah nodded again. "Yes, he crashed there exactly 1 year ago today. His car went off the road during a storm like this one. The police said he was trying to avoid a deer." Officer Miller remembered now. He had not been on duty that night, but he had heard about the crash. A young driver, just out of high school. The car had flipped several times. The boy died before help could arrive. I think, Officer Miller said carefully, you should go home now, Miss Jenkins. Drive safely. The roads are slippery tonight. He handed back her license and registration. There would be no ticket tonight. Sarah put the letter back in her purse. Thank you, officer, she said. Then she added, do you think I'm crazy? Officer Miller shook his head. No, I don't. I heard it too. Sarah started her car. Before she drove away, she asked, what will you tell people about what happened tonight? Officer Miller thought for a moment. Nothing, he said finally. No one would believe it anyway. Sarah drove away slowly. In her mirror, she could see Officer Miller standing in the rain, watching her go. The next morning, Officer Miller sat in his living room. He had not slept well. The voice from Sarah's car kept playing in his mind. He had watched the Dashcam video 10 more times when he got home. Each time, the voice was clear. Mom, show him the letter. Each time, the passenger seat was empty. He picked up his phone and called the police station. Hey Jim, it's Miller. Can you pull up a case file for me? A car accident from last year, October 15th, Highway 16 near Miller's Creek. Victim's name was Michael Jenkins. Officer Miller waited while Jim looked up the file. He needed to know more about the boy who had spoken from beyond. Got it, Jim said after a few minutes. Single car accident. Driver was Michael Jenkins, 18 years old. Car went off the road during a rainstorm. Driver was pronounced dead at the scene. Jim paused. There's something else here. The first officer on the scene reported that the victim was still alive when he arrived. He said the boy was saying something over and over. What was he saying? Officer Miller asked, his mouth dry. It says here, Jim continued, the victim kept saying, tell my mom I'll always be with her. Tell her to check my room. Officer Miller sat down heavily. That must have been when Michael was thinking about the letter he had left. There's one more thing, Jim added. The officer who found him that night was named Miller too. Tom Miller. Any relation to you? Officer James Miller felt a chill run through him. That's my father, he said quietly. He retired last year. Suddenly, many things made sense. Michael's voice had not just been for his mother. It had been for him too. A message across time, connecting father and son, mother and son, life and death. Officer Miller thanked Jim and hung up. He had one more call to make. He needed to talk to his father. Tom Miller lived in a small house on the edge of town. He had moved there after he retired from the police force. James had not visited his father in 3 months. They were not close, but today he needed to talk to him. James parked his car in front of the house. His father was sitting on the porch, reading a newspaper. Tom looked up as James walked toward him. This is a surprise, Tom said. He did not smile. What brings you here? James sat down in a chair across from his father. I need to ask you about a case, he said. From last year, a car accident on Highway 16. Tom's face changed. He put down his newspaper. Michael Jenkins, he said quietly. I still think about that night. James leaned forward. Tell me everything, he said. Please. Tom looked at his son for a long moment. Then he nodded. It was raining, just like last night. I was almost at the end of my shift when the call came in. Car off the road near Miller's Creek. I was the first one there. Tom paused, his eyes far away. Seeing that night again. The car was upside down. The boy was still inside, trapped. I called for an ambulance, but I knew it would take time. The rain was too heavy for a helicopter. James waited. His father had never talked about his work before. Not like this. I crawled in through the broken window. Tom continued. The boy was alive, but barely. There was blood everywhere. I held his hand and told him help was coming. He opened his eyes and looked at me. He knew he was dying. I could see it in his eyes. Tom's voice grew softer. He started talking. His voice was very weak. He said, Tell my mom I'll always be with her. Tell her to check my room. He said it over and over. I promised him I would tell her. Did you? James asked. Did you tell her? Tom shook his head. I tried. I went to the funeral, but she was surrounded by family. I could not get close to her. Later, I went to her house, but no one answered the door. I left a note with my phone number, but she never called. James thought about Sarah Jenkins, alone in her car last night, grieving for her son. She found the letter, he said, in his room. He knew he was going to die. He wrote her a letter before it happened. Tom stared at his son. How do you know this? James told his father about the traffic stop, about the voice from the empty seat, about the dashcam recording. As he spoke, Tom's face grew pale. You think I'm crazy, James said when he finished. Tom shook his head again. No, I believe you. He stood up and went into the house. When he came back, he was carrying a small box. I have something to show you. Inside the box was a silver watch. It was old and scratched. This was on Michael's wrist that night, Tom said. The hospital gave it to me when no one claimed it. I kept meaning to give it to his mother. James looked at the watch. On the back, there was writing. To Michael, time passes, but love remains. Love, Mom. We need to give this to her, James said. Today. Tom nodded. Yes, it's time. They drove to Sarah's house together. It was a small blue house with flowers in the front yard. James knocked on the door. After a minute, Sarah opened it. She looked surprised to see him. Officer Miller, she said. What are you doing here? James pointed to his father. This is my father, Tom Miller. He was the officer who found your son after the accident. Sarah's hand went to her mouth. You're the one who was with him, she whispered. At the end, Tom stepped forward. I promised your son I would tell you something. He said to tell you he would always be with you and to check his room. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I know, she said. I found his letter. Tom held out the small box. I brought something else that belongs to you. Sarah took the box and opened it. When she saw the watch, she began to cry. I gave him this for his 18th birthday, she said, just 3 months before he died. She looked up at the two men. Would you like to come in? I think we have a lot to talk about. Inside Sarah's house, photos of Michael were everywhere, on the walls, on the shelves, on the small table by the door. His smile was the same in every picture, bright and full of life. Sarah made tea, and they sat in her living room. For a long time, no one spoke. Then Sarah broke the silence. I want to know everything about that night, she said. The police report did not tell me much, just that he lost control of the car, that he died before the ambulance came. She looked at Tom. But you were there. You spoke to him. Tom nodded. He held his teacup tightly. Yes, I was with him at the end. He was not alone. Sarah closed her eyes. Thank you for that, she whispered. I have wondered about his last moments for so long. Was he in pain? Was he scared? He was calm, Tom said. He knew what was happening. He was worried about you. All he wanted was to make sure you got his message. The letter, Sarah said. She got up and went to a drawer. She came back with the letter Michael had written before he died. He wrote this a week before the accident. He had a dream about dying on that road. He knew it was going to happen. James thought about the voice in the car, about the radio turning on by itself, about the empty passenger seat. And now he's trying to reach you, he said, to let you know he's still here. Sarah smiled sadly. I talk to him every day. At his grave, in his room, in the car. Sometimes I feel like he hears me. But last night was the first time I heard him answer. Tom looked at his son. You said you have it on video. The voice. James nodded. On my dashcam. It's very clear. Can I see it? Sarah asked. Please. James went to his car and brought back his phone. He had saved the video to it. They watched it together. On the small screen, they could see James talking to Sarah through the car window. Then they heard it. The young male voice. "Mom, show him the letter." Sarah started crying again. "That's him," she said. "That's my Michael." Tom put his hand on Sarah's shoulder. "I'm sorry I never gave you his message," he said. "I tried, but I should have tried harder." Sarah shook her head. "It's not your fault. And it doesn't matter now. He found another way to tell me. He brought us all together." James looked around the room, at all the photos of Michael. In one, the boy was wearing a football uniform. In another, he was fishing by a lake. So much life, cut short. "Do you believe in ghosts, Ms. Jenkins?" James asked. Sarah thought for a moment. "I don't know what to believe anymore, but I know my son is still with me somehow. And now I have proof." James showed her the watch again. "This was your gift to him." Sarah nodded. She took the watch and held it to her heart. For his 18th birthday, it was his grandfather's watch. Michael was so proud of it. Tom looked uncomfortable. "I should have returned it sooner," he said. "I'm sorry." "It came back when it was meant to," Sarah said. She put the watch on her wrist. "Now I can keep a piece of him with me always." Outside, the rain had stopped. Sunlight began to peek through the clouds. It was a new day. "There's one more thing," Tom said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small notebook. "I wrote down everything Michael said that night, not just the message for you. There was something else." Sarah leaned forward. "What else did he say?" Tom opened the notebook. Just before the ambulance arrived, he opened his eyes one last time. He looked at me and said, "1 year from now, Highway 16. Mom will be there. You need to be there too." James felt a chill run through him. "He knew," he said quietly. "He knew you would be on that road last night, Miss Jenkins, and he knew my father would not be there. So he found another way. Through me." Sarah looked at James. "You don't look like your father," she said. "How did Michael know you were connected?" James shook his head. "I don't know. But he knew." The three of them sat in silence, thinking about the strange ways fate had brought them together. About a boy who reached beyond death to connect them all. As the day went on, Sarah showed Tom and James more of Michael's things. His room was just as he had left it. His football trophies lined the shelves. His guitar stood in the corner. His clothes still hung in the closet. "I could not bear to change anything," Sarah explained. "Sometimes I come in here and sit on his bed. I can almost feel him here with me." James looked at the photos on the wall. Michael with his friends. Michael at the beach. Michael on his first day of high school. A life that should have been much longer. "Did Michael ever talk about having dreams that came true?" James asked. "Before the one about the accident?" Sarah nodded. "Yes, he always had a strong sense about things. When he was 10, he woke up crying. He said he dreamed his grandfather had died. We got the phone call an hour later." She paused. "Michael was special that way. He saw things others did not." Tom was looking at a photo of Michael in his car. The same car that crashed. "Was he a careful driver?" he asked. "Very," Sarah said. "That's why the accident never made sense to me. The police said he was speeding, but Michael never sped. He was always so careful." She looked at Tom. "Did you see what really happened that night?" Tom shook his head. "The car was already off the road when I got there. But I wrote in my report that there were skid marks, like he had tried to stop suddenly." James thought for a moment. "The official report said he was trying to avoid a deer." "There was no deer," Tom said firmly. "I checked the area. No animal tracks in the mud. No fur on the car. Nothing." Sarah sat down on Michael's bed. "Then what made him crash?" No one had an answer. The room fell silent again. Then, without warning, the guitar in the corner made a sound. A single note, clear and loud. They all turned to look at it. No one was near it. No window was open to cause a breeze. "Did you hear that?" Sarah whispered. James nodded. His heart was racing. The guitar just played by itself. Tom got up and walked to the guitar. He looked at it closely. "Look," he said. He pointed to one of the strings. It was still vibrating slightly. Sarah joined him. "Michael played this guitar every day," she said. "He loved music." James took out his phone. "I'm going to record, in case it happens again." They waited. 1 minute passed. Then 2. Nothing happened. "Maybe we should ask him a question," Sarah suggested. Her voice was shaking, but there was hope in it too. Tom looked doubtful, but he nodded. "Michael," he said loudly, "if you're here with us, can you make a sound again?" They waited. Nothing happened. "Michael," Sarah said, "baby, if you can hear me, please give us a sign." Still nothing. James thought about the voice in the car, about what it had said. "Mom, show him the letter." The letter had been important. Maybe there was more to it. "Miss Jenkins," he said, "the letter Michael wrote. May I see it again?" Sarah went to her purse and brought back the letter. James read it again carefully. "Look at this part," he said. He pointed to a line near the end of the letter. "It says, 'If something does happen to me, please know that I will always be with you, even when you can't see me. I'll find ways to let you know.'" Tom read the line too. He knew he would be able to reach out somehow. Sarah touched the letter gently. But why now? Why after a year? James thought about it. "The anniversary," he said. 1 year exactly. Maybe that's important. As if in answer, the guitar played another note. Louder this time. All 3 of them jumped. "Michael?" Sarah called out. "Is that you?" The guitar played again. A different note. Then another. And another. 4 notes in a row. "He's trying to tell us something," Tom said. His face was pale. Sarah listened carefully. "That's the beginning of his favorite song," she said. "He played it all the time." The guitar fell silent again, but something had changed in the room. The air felt different, warmer somehow. "I think," James said slowly, "Michael wants us to look into what really happened that night, the real reason for his accident." Sarah nodded. "Yes, I think so too." Tom stood up straight. "Then that's what we'll do," he said. His voice was firm. "We'll find the truth." The next day, Tom went to the police station. He still had friends there who could help him. James went back to work, but he could not stop thinking about Michael and the voice from the empty seat. Sarah stayed home, holding Michael's watch and waiting for news. Tom came back in the afternoon with a thick folder. "I got the complete file on Michael's accident," he told Sarah and James, who had come over after his shift. "Every report, every photo, every detail." They spread the papers out on Sarah's kitchen table. There were photos of the crashed car, of the road, of the skid marks. There were reports from the officers who came after Tom. There was the report from the medical examiner. Tom pointed to a photo of the road. "Look here," he said. "These are the skid marks. They go straight, then suddenly turn to the right. Something made Michael swerve." James studied the photo. But what? If it wasn't a deer, what was it? Sarah was looking at another photo. "What's this?" she asked. She pointed to a dark spot on the road, near the skid marks. Tom looked closely. "I don't know. It's not in any of the reports." "We need to go there," James said. "To the crash site. Maybe there's something everyone missed." They drove to Highway 16 in 2 cars. The spot where Michael had crashed was marked by a small cross Sarah had placed there. It was near a sharp bend in the road, with a steep drop on one side. Tom walked along the road, looking carefully at everything. James took photos with his phone. Sarah stood by the cross, talking softly to her son. "I don't see anything unusual," Tom said after a while. "The road is normal. Good condition. No hidden holes or bumps that could have caused him to lose control." James was looking at the trees along the road. "Wait," he said. "Look at that tree." He pointed to a large oak about 50 feet from the crash site. "It has something on it." They walked to the tree. There was a mark on the trunk, about 5 feet up, a long scratch in the bark. That looks like it was made by a car, Tom said. He touched the mark. But Michael's car went off the road over there, not here. So another car hit this tree? James asked. Maybe the same night. Tom shook his head. No other accidents were reported that night. Sarah had joined them. Could another car have been involved in Michael's crash? One that didn't stop. Tom and James looked at each other. The same thought had occurred to both of them. A hit and run, James said. Someone forced Michael off the road and then left the scene. Sarah's face went pale. Someone killed my son and drove away. Tom put his arm around her shoulders. We don't know that yet, but we need to check if there was any paint from another car on Michael's vehicle. They went back to Sarah's house and looked through the photos again. There were close-ups of every part of Michael's car. There, James said suddenly. He pointed to a photo of the left side of Michael's car. There was a small smear of red paint on the blue surface. His car was blue. This red paint came from somewhere else. Tom checked the reports. This isn't mentioned anywhere, he said. They must have thought it was old damage, not related to the accident. Sarah's hands were shaking. So someone hit his car, forced him off the road, and then just left him there to die. We need to find that red car, James said. His voice was hard now, and the person who was driving it. Tom was already on his phone. I'm calling Bill at the station. He can check all the red cars in the area, see if any had damage reported around that time. But Sarah wasn't listening anymore. She was looking at Michael's watch on her wrist. The second hand, which had been moving normally all day, had stopped. The time showed exactly 9:17. The watch stopped, she said, just now. James looked at it. Maybe the battery died. Sarah shook her head. No, look at the time. 9:17. That's the exact time Michael's accident happened. It's in the police report. Tom and James stared at the watch. As they watched, the second hand started moving again. But instead of moving forward, it moved backward. Tick, tick, tick. Going back in time. That's not possible, Tom whispered. The second hand kept moving backward until the watch showed 9:15. 2 minutes before the crash. Then it stopped again. What is happening? Sarah asked. Her voice was barely audible. James felt the hair on his arms stand up. Michael is trying to tell us something about those 2 minutes before the crash. Something important happened then. That night, none of them could sleep. Tom stayed at Sarah's house, sleeping on the couch. James went home, but came back early the next morning. They were all thinking about the watch, about the red paint, about what might have happened in those 2 minutes before Michael's crash. Bill called back. Tom told them over breakfast. There were 17 red cars reported damaged in the area that week, 5 of them around the same day as Michael's accident. Can we get the names of the owners? Sarah asked. Tom nodded. Bill is sending them over. We should have them soon. James was looking at the police photos again. There's something else, he said. Look at this photo of Michael's phone. It was found in the car. The screen is broken, but it was still on when they found it. Sarah looked at the photo. Yes, Michael always had his phone with him. Did anyone check his call history? James asked. To see who he talked to last. Tom shook his head. Not that I know of. The accident seemed straightforward. No one thought to check. We need to get his phone records, James said. See who he called or texted in those last few minutes. Sarah got up. I have them, she said. The phone company sent me all his records after he died. I never looked at them. It was too painful. She went to her bedroom and came back with a large envelope. Inside were pages of phone records. They found the date of the accident and looked at the calls and texts for that day. Here, Sarah said. She pointed to a call that was made at 9:15 p.m., exactly when the watch had stopped the second time. He called this number 2 minutes before the crash. The number was not saved in their contacts. It was just a string of digits. "We need to find out who this number belongs to," Tom said. James was already typing the number into his phone. "I can run it through the police database. See if it matches anyone with a record." They waited while James checked. After a few minutes, he looked up. His face was grim. "The number belongs to a Ryan Taylor," he said, age 19. "He has a record for drunk driving and street racing." Sarah's hand went to her mouth. "Michael knew a Ryan," she said. "They went to school together, but they were not friends. Ryan was always in trouble." Tom was looking at the car photos again. "Wait a minute," he said. "Ryan Taylor. That name is familiar." He thought for a moment, then snapped his fingers. He was in an accident too. About a week after Michael wrapped his car around a telephone pole. He survived, but he was badly hurt. "What color was his car?" James asked, though he already knew the answer. "Red," Tom said. "A red Mustang." The pieces were coming together now. Ryan had called Michael just before the crash. Ryan drove a red car. There was red paint on Michael's car. "Ryan ran Michael off the road," Sarah said. Her voice was shaking with anger. "He caused the accident that killed my son. Then he drove away and left him to die." "But why?" James asked. "Why would he do that?" Sarah shook her head. "I don't know. They were not friends, but I never heard Michael say they were enemies either." The doorbell rang. It was Bill from the police station with the list of red car owners. One name stood out immediately: Ryan Taylor. "Where is he now?" Tom asked Bill. "Still around," Bill said. "He was in the hospital for months after his accident. Now he works at his father's garage on Main Street." They needed to talk to Ryan, to confront him, to find out the truth. They found him at the garage working under a car. He was thin and walked with a limp, but otherwise looked healthy. When he saw them coming, something in his eyes changed. Fear. "Ryan Taylor," James said, showing his police badge. "We need to talk to you about Michael Jenkins." Ryan dropped his tools. For a moment, it looked like he might try to run. But where could he go? He was trapped. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, but his voice was shaking. Sarah stepped forward. "My son died 1 year ago yesterday," she said. "You were the last person he called. Your car hit his before he crashed. We found the paint from your car on his." Ryan's face went white. He looked from Sarah to Tom to James, then back to Sarah. "It was an accident," he whispered. "I never meant to hurt him." "What happened?" Tom asked. "Tell us everything. Now." Ryan slumped against the wall. "We were racing," he said, "on Highway 16. It was his idea. He called me, said he wanted to settle something." Sarah shook her head. "No, Michael would never race. He was not like that." "It's true," Ryan insisted. "I have the text messages to prove it. He challenged me, said I was all talk, no action. So we met on Highway 16. We raced. But then it started to rain. The roads got slippery. We were going too fast." Ryan's story did not make sense. Michael had never been interested in racing. He was a careful driver who followed the rules. Sarah knew her son would not have challenged Ryan or anyone else to a race. "Show us these text messages," James said to Ryan. Ryan pulled out his phone and showed them. There they were. Messages from Michael's number, challenging Ryan to a race, setting the time and place. Highway 16 at 9:00 p.m. Sarah read the messages. They sounded nothing like her son. "These are fake," she said. "Michael would never write these things." Ryan shook his head. "They're real. Ask anyone." Michael had changed in the weeks before the accident. He was different. Angry. Taking risks. Tom and James looked at each other. This was news to them. "Tell us exactly what happened that night," Tom said. Ryan took a deep breath. "We met on Highway 16. Started racing. We were side by side at first. Then Michael pulled ahead. I tried to catch up. It was raining hard by then. The roads were slippery. I got too close to his car. We touched, just barely. But at that speed, it was enough. His car spun out, went off the road. "And you just drove away?" James asked, his voice cold. Ryan looked down. "I was scared. I had been in trouble before. I thought no one would know I was there. I thought he would be okay." "He died," Sarah said. Each word came out like ice. "My son died alone because you left him there." Ryan was crying now. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Every day I wish I could change what happened. Every day I live with what I did." "Is that why you crashed your own car a week later?" Tom asked. Ryan nodded. "I couldn't live with it. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I just wanted it to end. So I drove too fast on purpose. Into a pole. But I lived. And Michael didn't. It's not fair." Sarah stood very still, looking at this broken young man who had caused her so much pain. Part of her wanted to scream at him, to make him hurt the way she was hurting. But another part saw his suffering and knew it was real. "Did you know," she said quietly, "that Michael dreamed about the crash before it happened? He wrote me a letter telling me he would always be with me." Ryan looked up, confused. "What? And did you know that his voice spoke to us from beyond? That he led us to you?" Ryan backed away from her. "I don't understand." James stepped forward. "We have proof. Video and audio. Michael's spirit helped us find you." "That's not possible," Ryan whispered. But his face showed he was no longer sure of anything. Tom put his hand on Ryan's shoulder. "You need to come with us. To the station. Make a formal statement about what happened that night. It's time for the truth to come out." Ryan nodded. He looked defeated, but also relieved. Like a great weight had been lifted from him. "Yes, I'll tell everything. It's what Michael deserves." As they walked out of the garage, a strong wind suddenly blew through the open doors. Papers flew everywhere. A calendar on the wall flipped open to the month of May. They all felt it. A presence, not angry or vengeful. Just there, watching, listening. Sarah touched Michael's watch on her wrist. The hands were moving normally now. The time was correct. "He knows," she said. "He finally has peace." 3 months later, Ryan Taylor stood before a judge. He had pleaded guilty to leaving the scene of a fatal accident. The judge sentenced him to 5 years in prison. Sarah was there in the courtroom. So were Tom and James. They had become a kind of family over these months, bound by Michael's spirit and their search for the truth. After the sentencing, Ryan asked to speak to Sarah. She agreed, though it was hard. "I know nothing I can say will bring him back," Ryan said. "But I want you to know I will spend the rest of my life trying to make up for what I did. When I get out, I want to talk to young drivers, tell them my story, stop them from making the same mistakes." Sarah nodded. She did not forgive him. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But she understood that he was punishing himself more than the courts ever could. That night, Sarah went to the cemetery. She told Michael everything that had happened, how his spirit had guided them, how the truth had finally come out. "You can rest now," she said to his grave. "Your story is told. Your truth is known." As she walked back to her car, a soft wind blew through the trees. It sounded almost like a whisper, like a goodbye, like a thank you. Officer James Miller still had the dashcam video. He watched it sometimes to remind himself that there are things in this world we cannot explain, things that go beyond what we can see or touch. And sometimes, when he was driving down Highway 16 at night, he would slow down near the spot where Michael had crashed. He would roll down his window and listen. Just listen. To the wind, to the silence, to the whispers that might be there. The dead can speak to us, if we are willing to hear them.